fellow ministers of the church and faithful zealots who seek to smite evil in the name of God's glory. In case you're not familiar or too arrogant to believe the truth without having to hear it first, let me introduce myself. I am Lucifer, yeah, you know, that guy. Now I've come to have a little chat, a sort of one-on-one with you about how you think things are going to go and how things are actually going to happen. This intervention, shall we say, has become necessary due to the severe arrogance you have incorporated into your beliefs that is bound by the designs of that materialistic mistranslated book that has been altered from its purpose into a weapon and tool for conquest and war. Let me explain. Why would I be inclined to believe that mankind is plotting against God, trying to design a way to cast him from heaven by orchestrating the fall of Lucifer? That their scheme's goal is focused on the principal belief that if an angel can fall from heaven, a being of God's design, supposedly perfect in all his ways, only to fall to the imperfections of his inevitable failure because everyone makes mistakes, even God's great ass for example, then this would prove that God is imperfect by his angel's failure, and his fall due to sin shows that any angel could be capable of the same flaw, for their creator is flawed by some intended outcome, which in turn gives them the idea that God is capable of sin and mistakes, but his attitude towards the perfection of his creation says that he is in denial and blinded by his vanity, thus portraying him to be Lucifer, shifting the roles to orchestrate God's fall from heaven. For if an angel can sin, then no one, including God and any other soul in heaven, is assured eternal salvation, for any of them could fall to sin just as they did to Lucifer and to God. Seems like a wild claim, then this occurs. Greatest argument yet, someone mentioned that Lucifer was only mentioned once in the Bible. I argued that he was mentioned twice. He's mentioned in the verse to the king of Tyre, Lucifer, O son of the morning star. How far you have fallen. Once you were his most cherished angel, perfect in all your ways. And once in Revelations, and the armies of Lucifer did battle against Michael and his angels, and he was not strong enough to remain and was cast down to earth. Or something like that. Funny thing though. He is mentioned by name from the Alpha to the Omega in the current 66th version of a Bible that explicitly mentioned that no one was to alter or change its contents. Those who do would be cast from heaven and removed from the book of life. Regardless of the punishment that awaits, you cannot sit here and try to argue the factual aspects of a book that has been altered 66 times to fit the ideals of the church, because if you know anything about the Bible, then you would also know the Pope in the 15th century removed many chapters that explained and mentioned the fallen angels and what happened in the war in heaven. So I'm sure the original Bible mentioned Lucifer's name many more times than just twice. It seems more like someone is trying to lure, I don't know, maybe Lucifer, into believing since he is from the Alpha to the Omega of the Bible, then maybe he is God, maybe he is something more than meant to be God's vessel as an angel. That must be pretty upsetting to be fooled by the very ministers of his word. That would make me feel like God himself was setting him up, that is, unless I am Lucifer and I already know of this deceptive tactic, as does God, and I would be inclined to say that neither of us are amused at all by this petty attempt to warp his name and his words through this piece of materialistic mistranslated fiction in order to shame and defile my name with your petulant lies and deception. Get your nose out of the book, nerd, and see what's in front of your face. I'm not some comic book character that can be rebooted into a modern original flick. So how close are we to the actual Armageddon? If it was a doomsday clock, I'd say we just hit about the 11th hour with 2 minutes till midnight.
Seven trumpets will mark the judgment of the living on earth, 4 devastations and 3 woes. These are 7 redemptive judgments to plague earth while salvation is still possible before the close of mercy. Consider the importance of the Day of Atonement in the wilderness in Leviticus 16. It was the most important day in the Jewish year, for the 10th day in the 7th month marked the close of Israel's judgment for that year. Likewise, a parallel is drawn for the final generation in Revelation as the fourth seal is opened and the first trumpet sounds. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth, and there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a huge mountain, all ablaze, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood, a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. The magnitude of this impact will also send waves roaring into the coastlines, massively affecting coastal cities, possibly wiping them off the map. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from drinking the waters that had turned bitter. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. A third of the day was without light, and also a third of the night. The disaster caused by the first three trumpets will disrupt the Earth's surface and will cause volcanic action on a level so great, smoke and debris will cause a blockout of much of the natural light from the sun. As I watched, I heard an eagle that was flying in midair call out in a loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth because of the trumpet blast about to be sounded by the other three angels." Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. So the sun and the air were darkened because of the smoke of the pit. Then out of the smoke locusts came upon the earth, and to them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. They were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, but only those men who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And they were not given authority to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a man. In those days, men will seek death and will not find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. At the fifth trumpet, Lucifer and his angels are released from the abyss, torturing those who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They will physically appear for all to see. He will come as an angel of light, masquerading as Almighty God, mocking the second coming and placing himself as God, deceiving even the elect if that were possible. Many will marvel and believe the lie. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. They perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie.
Proxaco Symphony Non Draco Symphony 2 Dade Retro Center Dem Kornswagen Legiverlauf Some long off the events I can see them in the distance.
When they speak of redemption, what exactly does it mean? What does it apply to? Is it a reward in heaven? Is it a second chance at life and returning from the dead? Is it the revelation of hidden truths against wrongly condemned individuals? Is it a get out of hell free card from the man upstairs? It behooves me to tell you that it is none of these things, yet it can be any of these things. Perhaps it is because its concept was designed by a divine being, something created by the Creator and handed down to His Son to teach mankind. Maybe that is why this one concept can be applied to many things and in many ways, designed by the one who designed it all. The truth of this cannot be known, for it is a heavenly matter, but more importantly, does it really matter? Who designed this concept is not important. What is important is, does it work? Is it a solution that can be applied the way I say? Yes, redemption can mean many things, and if you follow the ways of the Messiah's examples, no matter how sinful you may be, This can lead to the solution you seek. For now we shall simply have faith in the hope it inspires in those who believe. Now take, for example, the situation of a man who has committed a heinous crime and paid his debt to the laws of man. Free of his debt, he still is not accepted by the people around him. He cannot find work, for none will hire him. He can't get common decency and respect because everyone still loathes him for what he did. Can redemption apply to him? Yes, only if it is true in his heart, without the intention to find forgiveness, but acts of sincere kindness, humility, honor, courage, the cardinal virtues, if applied here, and lived not as if he is a man who has become consumed with trying to do every good deed he can, but when he sees someone less fortunate, and no one seems to be stepping up to help them, even if it just kind words of encouragement. If you maintain that way of living and incorporate it into your life like a habit and way of living from that point on, then redemption will be yours. Now take this single concept and apply it to all situations involving whatever problems you might imagine to face. If you commit a great wrong or a deadly sin, can it bring you back into favor to the ones who you lost favor with? Yes. If you die, can it forgive your transgressions in life and earn you a peaceful rest in the grave with kind words and fond memories from the ones who knew you? Yes, it can. This is the redemption that the Messiah spoke of, and this is how it is applied. And those who have been one of those on this path seeking something like this knows that it is truth. It is said that your deeds alone cannot ensure your entrance into the kingdom of heaven. This is true, but pay attention to how it was worded, that your deeds alone. For I say to you now, as I said to you then, every man, woman, and child's deeds are taken into account, as is their thoughts and the reasons that they decided to act as they did. Their hearts' intentions lay the guilt of sin for them to bear upon the day of judgment. You know how you can tell that what I speak is truth. Then I ask of you this question: is it not the sins of a man that condemns him to hell? Is not the iniquity and imperfection of the flesh not to be what is to blame for our ability to be capable of such things? Then verily I say unto you, that just as a man's deeds can condemn him, so can they redeem him. But be aware that there is much more that is taken into account when you stand before the Holy of Holies to answer for the deeds of your life. For is it not the weight of the feather that the Egyptians believed decided your fate in the afterlife? Are your deeds not judged by your father and your father's fathers in the belief of the Abrahamic cultures, where if you're found worthy to enter the promised lands, then they shall meet you at your time of death to lead you towards the lands of milk and honey. In the beliefs of karmatic justice, do not the deeds of your everyday life decide the path of fate that your life shall be led down? But just because they did not believe in the Christian God does not mean that they were wrong. In the time of the Messiah, there were no radio broadcasts or global communications to spread his teachings to every man, woman, and child on the planet. So know that what I say is truth by that which guides your heart towards seeing truth and knowing what you're hearing is right, and without malice, that the true God does not hold racism or cultural bias in his heart when he comes to intervene to help that which he has created. He appears and makes himself known by what you understand him to be, not what an institutionalized image engraven on an object of idolatry looks like. When he comes, he wants you to know that it is him, and there is nothing to fear, for he is not the temperamental child who breaks his own toys. But as is said, it is true that your deeds alone will not grant you entrance to heaven or the place of paradise. For those who have lived a life consumed in their own sins, unable to see the mistakes that have become habits that decide the outcome of their lives. To you I say that no matter how evil your deeds are, or how evil you have become, you can be forgiven. A path of redemption can lead you to entering heaven, but it must be true within your heart. The remorse and regret you feel, your decision cannot be to escape what is to come. Only through the first Messiah and his teachings can you be saved. His life, its examples of how he overcame accusations to his character when he was innocent and when he was guilty of what they claimed against him. Live in truth with nothing to hide, and show that your intentions were innocent of malice. Point not the finger of blame upon them, but simply show by words and by action that what you say is true, and their evil intentions will be defeated. They will not have the satisfaction they sought, but even in victory still be humble, and hold no conviction, for you may be wrong in your assumption against him. Now many ask me, who are you? Are you the Messiah? No. Are you a priest? No. Are you a prophet? No. Are you the second coming? No. Are you the 13th apostle? No. I am simply a man who made a vow to this world to go and seek something. I have sought, and I have struggled against unseen evils and hardships to bring you what I said I would. These are the teachings of the Messiah, as I said. Now, I must return to the path I am on and fulfill the agreements I made to others to bring you this. If I learn more, I shall bring its teachings to you as well.
Lucifer is allowed to exercise his power for 42 months. The crisis government that will form shortly after the first trumpets is the beginning of the beast system in Revelation 13 that will become the only economically viable system globally to function in the current state of the world during those days. At this time, the world will be in ruin and the necessities of life will become scarce in a very short time period. Lucifer will head this government upon his appearing, for the foundation has been laid and the stage set for the events to follow. He will implement a mark, a pledge of allegiance for all those who wish to buy or sell and live sustainably for what short time they have left. This is the mark of the beast, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is a number of a man, and his number is 666. If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives its mark on their forehead or on their hand, they too will drink the wine of God's fury, which has been poured full strength into the cup of his wrath. They will be tormented with burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb.